Welcome back.
It feels like I haven't seen you in years.
It's been a very, very long time.
So long.
And many things have happened.
So many things.
So many things have happened.
Oh my gosh. I don't even think I could begin to tell you all the things.
But we're in the teenager episodes now.
Yeah, teens.
Whoop, whoop.
And what about teens? We're going to talk about youth ministry today.
Hey, look at that segue right there.
Yeah. I might have had a surgery 2 weeks ago and have brain fog, but I still got it.
That's right. So, Randy, give us kind of the where your head was thinking about what we were going to talk about today. Like, what about youth ministry and things like that?
Yeah. So I was honestly trying to remember what we had been talking about before, and I couldn't. And then I had that surgery, and my brain was all foggy. And my mom had sent me, actually tagged me on Facebook in a comment. My old youth minister got to be a guest speaker at his new church. At his church.
Yeah,
now.
I saw that the other day.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god! So I turned it on, I listened to it, and I was like, and there was some of the stuff he was talking about in there from when he was young. I was like, bro, I remember that.
Yeah,
I was there, and it just made me think. Listening to him had been so long since I heard him teach on anything that I was like, man, I miss this. I wonder if him teaching this, I feel like I've heard him teach on this before. Did I ever teach on it?
Yeah.
And I know it just kind of, sparks started flying and, pistons started going. And I was like, wait a minute. Because then I was like, wait, I also taught Matthew.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, this could be something.
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of how that came along.
Yeah. So it's like, I feel like, because obviously we all learn stuff and, everybody teaches different,
Mm-hmm.
everybody learns different and things like that. And so that's kind of what we were going to just talk about today was about, why youth ministry is important and the things that we learned in youth ministry and how it kind of is different, but ultimately the same.
Yeah.
And just kind of go from there.
Yeah. And they, I was in the youth in the 90s, so that's just like a different vibe entirely than it is now.
Right.
But like, even we'll watch the youth group chronicles on YouTube sometimes.
So funny.
Which is so funny.
Shout out youth group chronicles.
So love them. But
they'll probably shout us out too.
Yeah. Someday. If I can ever get a story of ours on there, I'll be like, P.S. we have a podcast.
Bro, I've almost thought about sending some sometimes.
Sometimes
but
me too.
But then another part of you is like, what? Even if I say like, this is anonymous, don't say my name or whatever. Like if it comes back, I'm like, maybe I don't want my name attached to that story.
Yeah. I think about that too. I'm like, would that get Adam in trouble or I in trouble or whoever in trouble? And then I'm like, bro. Some of our best stories had my own brother in it, so it'd probably be cool.
Yeah.
But like, they kind of laugh how they're like, the stuff they did when they were in youth, as youth leaders, they wouldn't be allowed to do that.
Right.
Because there's just so many different hoops you have to jump through now, and there's so much. You still want the kids to be able to proclaim Jesus,
right?
But the world that in which we live in, it's much harder. Just to kind of have funny jokes and stuff without it getting kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
Not that some of that wasn't kind of sketchy then, but like
Right.
people weren't as quick to like jump to like, let's sue and post it on YouTube and stuff now. So as it is now. But yeah, so I just thought, why don't it'd be kind of fun to kind of a little banter of how we grew up, how I grew up, how Adam grew up, and then how that inspired us to pour into you guys. And now you're pouring into people that are my own daughter's age.
Right.
She's gone on trips with y'all. And so I thought it was kind of a fun circle because, I don't know, youth ministry is super important.
It is very important.
Super important. And people, I think sometimes they forget, like, that age group, like, specifically are so easily influenced, even if they want to say they're not.
Yeah.
That you got to be careful on who they're listening to and who you bring in to teach them and lead them.
Right.
That it's one of the most important things, I think, honestly.
Well, we've talked about, obviously children's ministry because we've talked about, different kids camps and obviously we've talked about different VeggieTales episodes and things like that and talked about how, the importance of So kind of like the importance of, we've talked about, train up a child and the way they should go or whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel like, as far as like little kids, 12 and under, like that is a very important time in their life because, their brain is figuring out how to do stuff. Their brain's figuring out how to process information. But then I feel like once you get to youth age, teenager, junior high, high school age, it's like almost even more important because your brain has figured out how to process information, and now it's trying to figure out what do I do with that information.
Yes, and I
so,
feel like
it's one of those things,
Yeah, like I mean, they're like everyone says kids are sponges.
Yeah,
but it's kind of like okay, but a sponge gets full, it's gotta it's gonna have to the liquid has to go somewhere, or it can't absorb anymore.
Right.
And that's why, like that. I really like how you said that. It's like now, what do we do with this information?
Yeah.
Because I do that as an adult sometimes. I have all this info and I'm like, but how do I use it?
Exactly.
Just tell me how to use it.
Exactly.
And I feel youth ministry is definitely should be how do you use it for sure.
Right. And so and then a whole nother level of it is it's like this is the last kind of moment in their life before. Not that necessarily because sometimes, you go to college, but you still live at home.
Yeah.
Or you get a job, but you still are close to home or whatever. So you're not necessarily out on your own per se, but, you become an adult, I guess.
Yeah.
And so it's like the last few years before, okay, I learned information. I learned what to do with this information.
Now I got to live it.
Now I got to live this information.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like it's important, especially for, junior high, high school, middle school age kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Is you look at it and it's like, okay, how can I, start habits now that will eventually, and I think that's why it's so important for that age group.
Yeah, because you try to teach little kids to pray over their food, or you try to teach them how to read, but they're barely able to read the Bible, so they read it one word at a time, and you're like, oh my God, they read it, it's so great.
Right.
But in the youth, you're kind of expected to especially if you grew up in church, you're kind of expected to know stuff.
Yeah.
And so if you don't, you kind of panic, or you don't want to raise your hand or anything. But it's you don't always know who knows things.
Yeah.
And so you can't, I feel like one of the craziest things ever as being someone who actually did help teach youth was how, not how smart y'all were, but how ready to learn y'all were. I remember there was a couple of kids that had gotten phones by then, and they would look like they were playing on their phone or all the time. But then they'd be able to answer every single question we asked.
Right.
Because it was it looked like they weren't ready to learn, but they were just listening in a different way. And I think that's the biggest difference between little kids and youth is they I feel they're going to always, when you ask a little kid something, we've talked about this so many times, is they always just say Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But a youth is more likely to try to actually really guess really what you're asking.
Right.
And some of them will actually know and be able to tell you. And it's wild because it's you start thinking, did I know that when I was 12?
Well, I think that even
and it teaches you as a person.
Yeah, I mean, it adds a deeper level to it now because it's especially the things that kids are maybe introduced to now, or the things that they see now with just social media and crap or whatever. There's some stuff that's we maybe learned about as sophomores in high school or whatever that now they're learning about as 7th graders or whatever.
Yeah, there's a big gap, I feel in the difference between me to you to them.
Right.
And I feel we were closer. Yeah. I think just because of the way we were raised, we were a little bit closer in what we knew by a certain age versus what they did. But I would say even just between your sister to my daughter.
Yeah.
They grew up in such a digital age compared to us that it's just the stuff you get introduced to is crazy. And even if it wasn't inappropriate, it was just so
regular
much
life
info.
stuff is, and you're right. And so, and then, I mean, it's just I think it's also because, when we were growing up, if you wanted to learn something, you had to go actually learn it.
Actively go find it
out.
You had to
go find some, Encyclopedia A, you know what, some dumb thing like that.
Yeah.
And then now it's just like, if I want to know something, I just Google it, find it, and it's in my brain for a short period of time because I didn't have to do anything to find this information.
Yeah.
Other than, hey, Google, what does this mean or whatever, which can be a good thing. But then also I feel like it's harder to
retain
stuff to stick. Yeah.
Yeah. And I do struggle with this because I don't like silence. I don't like, I get kind of bored easy, and so I'll turn on random like YouTube videos and Spotify like podcast, and I'll get where I've almost given myself too much information. And there has been times where Adam was like, "I don't know what you've been listening to, but you need to back off." He was like, "You have been acting like a maniac this week," and he's not even trying to be mean, but like I've gotten so much info in my head.
Yeah.
Like I could not, there was no way for me to know where to start. Even if it was good info, it was no way for me to process it.
Right.
And he was like, you need to chill. Like he was like, and there have been times I have literally had to like stop following a certain group of people, and they weren't even inappropriate stuff.
Yeah.
It was just because I was getting too much info.
Right.
And I had no way to like pour it out anywhere.
Well, we look at that with kids because, you know, there's all those dumb like brain rot videos on YouTube. It's just like, hey, you want your kid to shut up? You just put this video on. And
exactly.
Like, but like, and I think we think of that. We think that's only an issue for kids or whatever.
No, I do it all the time.
But we do it all the time. I mean, it's just like.
I listen, I think I'm going to learn something because they're using big words about theology. And then about halfway through the video, I'm like, what are we? I don't know what's happening.
Or some famous person shared this podcast. So maybe I should
listen to it.
And then you're 30 minutes deep and you're like.
Still don't know what's going on.
Dumber than you were before you started it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you just kind of like, and that's why youth ministry is so important. And I think, to know where you're going, you do need to know where you came from.
Right.
So you, because if we're all being honest, we do carry other people's influences inside us for a very long time. And on, you know, and there's things that I do, even with like food, I do because I saw my dad do once, like when he was cooking it a long time ago, or like, I started putting like more stuff on my cinnamon rolls out of the can because I saw someone else do it once on like a video, and I was like, oh, that's nice.
One of the most like, I'm just not even lying to you, the first memories of my life was I was at McDonald's with my grandpa, and I saw him like grab multiple French fries at a time, and eat multiple French fries at a time
instead of one at a time. And I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing. You can do that. Can you do that?
I don't know why I remember that. I think about that so often. I'm like, but it's like stuff like that. Like we watch stuff, we see stuff,
just constantly taking it in,
and we retain it, whether we think we do or not. And I think it shapes how we act and how we do things, and you know, because like, you know, part of the reason that like when I was growing up with y'all was like y'all didn't ever like talk down to us, and it was never like, oh, let me tell you how much information I know.
Yeah.
Which I learned better that way. I also learned better if someone is like telling a story, like if someone's going over a passage in the Bible and they say like, you know, this is how, like give an example from like today that relates to that example. Yeah. So like for instance, in like the story of Abraham or Abraham, I guess, when God like takes him up on the mountain and is like, you know, hey, like your descendants is going to have this land or whatever.
Right.
Every time I've read that, I've always associated it with like the Lion King.
Exactly.
Like everything the light touching, you know, that scene or whatever. Yeah. And so just like stuff like that where like someone will read a passage and then they'll be like, hey, have you ever watched the Lion King before? And so it's like stuff like that. Like that's just how my brain works better.
Yeah.
And so like, and rather than someone just getting up there and be like, we're going to read the Psalms today, and like no explanation, just reading it and saying, "This is
there
it.
It is.
There it is. Hope you learned something.
Yeah.
Let's do the altar call now." You know.
Yeah, and like reading the Bible is important, but like we're supposed to be kind of doing it on our own,
right?
So the reason I've always felt the reason you're supposed to be at church is for that.
Yeah.
Like this is how you apply it.
Yeah.
Because if you want to learn about, there's plenty of secular people who've read the Bible.
Right. Right.
The Holy Spirit isn't in them, so they don't know how to apply it.
Right.
Like, I mean, anyone can read.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I liked, especially I like about teaching in general, with y'all was like I would learn something about it as I was trying to teach y'all.
Yeah.
And I know Adam was the same way. And I think that but that has always been really nice about church in general, but like especially with like youth, because you see the adults living a certain way, you see the kids living a certain way, and you're kind of like, why am I stuck in this weird like purgatory?
Right.
Like I can't apply David and Goliath the same way an adult can or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, actually you can.
Yeah.
Like and I think
like
that's why youth is so important.
Right. Well, because especially that age group, because you don't want to be young anymore.
No.
You don't want to be
you want a
associated
responsibility
with little kids anymore.
Yeah.
You want the responsibility or whatever. And so I think it's one of those things is like, if you baby Christians, you're going to get baby Christians.
Yeah.
And so I think it's especially true for youth, because it's like they're at this age where they don't want to be babied anymore. They don't want to be talked down to anymore.
Yeah.
They don't want to be, they want to be like, even if that, whatever church or just regular school, I mean, like they want to be like,
they want to be challenged,
whether they say it or not.
Yeah, but as you can tell, though, they'll be like that. They'll be like, "Oh, I hate this. Is so hard."
Right.
But if a teacher isn't challenging them, that's like their least favorite teacher.
Right.
Because it's like they'd rather be challenged than bored.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think that's a thing God probably put in us on purpose, but like,
Yeah.
or maybe it's from the fall. I don't know.
Could be.
But I feel like in general, especially with teenagers, though, they would rather be challenged than bored.
It is, yeah. It is hard, I will say, and I'm sure y'all dealt with this too, but at least in my experience, everybody that was in our youth group, maybe not everybody, but most of us, we were there all the time.
Yeah,
our
we
parents
had a pretty
made church
big
a priority.
Core group. Yeah,
we'd grown up, and
it
was more than just we do this on Sundays and Wednesdays kind of thing. And I've noticed, just as the church as a whole, I mean, everywhere today, there's more and more families that treat it as that's just the Sunday and Wednesday thing.
Yeah, there's been a shift for sure.
And so it's kind of one of those things where it's just like, I can say whatever I want, or Adam or you could have said whatever you want for the hour and a half you saw us on a Wednesday night.
Mm-hmm.
But then if we would have gone home and then seen and been told something completely different for 6 other days.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those, like, no matter how much me or Adam or Justin or whoever, whatever we say in that hour and a half, so it's like this battle of like, how do you say the right stuff and not bore them, but also not challenge them too much to where they don't, it's like this, you got to find that happy medium.
It's crazy. And like when, I know like, in ours, and when I was in youth, we had kids that only came on Wednesday. So, but we did have a pretty big youth group. I feel like we averaged, like when, like me and my sister and brother were like in the youth together, I feel like we averaged around 30 kids or something crazy. I mean, we had a huge youth group.
Yeah.
But on Sunday mornings, we would have like 7 in Sunday school.
Right.
And I know like, we kind of had that too a little bit. Sunday school was kind of hard to get some of y'all there. But once a lot in your group, I feel like once y'all could start driving, a lot more of y'all came.
Yeah.
Which is like crazy opposite usually than what happens. But in ours, well, I think part of the thing was, especially out at Union Valley where it's kind of like Stonewall's still like 5-10 miles down the road and Ada's like 10 miles the other way.
Yeah.
Everyone is actively trying to has to actively want to be in that place.
Right.
And we did have a few people who would walk up. But and we would go get them in like the van and stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like that changes the dynamic too, as if like who you have.
Right. Because if you're, Stonewall or Asher or Allen or what, like,
it has the school right there.
Like, you're the only show in town.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like,
honestly.
Right. And if you want to go to church, you just go a block or 2 blocks down the road.
Yeah.
And there's the church or whatever.
Yeah. Kids literally walk over to Stonewall First Baptist.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. And then like, in Holdenville where my grandparents live and they go to church, the school is like across the street from
that's awesome.
their church. And so like they have like a pizza day every other, I think it's every Tuesday or something. And so then literally the school can, at lunchtime, you just walk across the road, go get some pizza from the church.
Yeah.
And so,
and that's a challenge too, because you want them to be, to know who you are so they'll trust you.
Right.
And you want to be in the community so you believe in them. And I think that helped with us in our sense is that Justin actually went to Vanos.
Yeah.
And he knew my mom and dad, and his mom and dad were really good friends with my mom and dad.
Yeah.
So I already knew him and his family, like pretty much as soon as he got there and told me who he was. I was like, oh my gosh, I know who you are.
Yeah.
Your face is hanging up in the school. I see it like all the time.
Right.
And I think that helps too. That helped a lot with like building a trust. Like all of us kind of knew who they were.
Yeah.
And then with y'all, a lot of y'all were like family or like family adjacent.
Yeah.
And so your friends were like, oh, well, this is their family. We'll trust you.
Right.
And I think that helped. I feel like that's part of the struggle too in youth is like finding someone who's trustworthy with the kids, but that the kids are going to feel like they have enough authority that they can trust them and like what they say about Jesus over what they're going to learn the 6 other days.
Yeah.
And that is hard to balance. But I don't know. I just feel like sometimes we get so bogged down that we forget like it is only like 1-2 days a week.
Right.
So really you should just like focus on your those 2 hours and make sure you do give good info and you are available when you can be.
Right.
Because sometimes I feel like we try too hard sometimes.
Right. We do. And I think that's one thing that especially youth are like really good at like kids can kind of pick up on it, but youth are really good, and youth know like when you're being fake.
Yes.
And when you're being, you're not
genuine.
Not when you're not genuine. And they
Yeah.
like if whatever, like my son Cody, like he will eventually like kind of probably figure out like, oh, maybe Dad actually doesn't really give a crap about my Paw Patrol toys that are on the floor, or whatever. But like, youth or whatever, like they're real quick to be like, they don't care, or that, like it's, and so I think that's another reason why it's such an important age group is because they notice it with everybody.
Yeah.
And so it's like, especially like if people at school or if people in their family, like if they notice, oh, those people are just fake, or they don't ever like.
Yeah.
You
So
know
you
kinda
have
what
to
I'm
build
saying?
that relationship.
Yeah.
And that's what it's like. So when Justin was my youth leader, he had come from a little bit more of like a charismatic background.
Yeah.
But so he was really always talking about prayers for like healing, and we would go like to conferences with them, and we would go up to his mom and dad's church, and people would be like speaking in tongues and like dancing in the aisles. And it was just really crazy because it was like opening our eyes up to there was like more ways to worship than what we were used to. But at the same time, it was like kind of scary because it was like, I'm not used to that.
Yeah.
But there's no way I would have ever gone back if I didn't trust he was leading me towards Christ.
Right.
And I feel like, and Adam was kind of talking about that too. Like his youth pastors, both of us kind of had these youth pastors who pointed us to those kind of things. Like he was saying, they were really good at like teaching the Bible.
Yeah.
And keeping you really grounded. And like, but then he also had a youth pastor that was like really into worship. Like he had a band, so he wanted the kids to learn how to actively do like be in a band and worship that way, and like pray and stuff like that. And then there was other people who were like very like spirit led, and they would just kind of, sometimes it would get a little wild, kind of like those services we were going to. But then like he ended up at this place in Atoka that was kind of like a mixture of both, and he was just like, so by the time we started doing the youth, he had already went out and lived some of these things and saw how they were practical or not.
Yeah.
And like how Bible, like deep Bible study and like serious and intense worship, like intentional worship was like, and like how like seeking spiritual gifts and stuff was like important.
Yeah.
It made him like excited to share that. I had lived some of that through Justin. And so Adam already being included into that was making me like, oh yes, I understand this. Let's do this. And I feel like him kind of being ready to like launch into that. I was like, shoot, I'll follow that anywhere.
Yeah.
Hey, and I think that was one thing with us, like to y'all, we were just like, don't like be open.
Yeah.
There is spiritual warfare. It's everywhere, but be open and like willing to like learn.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you don't believe in that, eventually you might find you don't believe in that stuff. Cool.
Right.
But like at least go out and like look for it. And I think that's one thing from like on like Sunday mornings and stuff, we just followed those little like pamphlets. But on like Wednesday nights, a lot of the times Justin was like teaching things.
Yeah.
And I think that was really fun because I got to kind of live both ways. So like on Sunday mornings, Josh Christian actually came in and was our Sunday school teacher so that Justin and Sonny could go do Sunday school.
Right.
And that way they were being fed, but we were still being fed as the youth.
Yeah.
And I kind of, as much as I love teaching y'all on Sunday mornings and taking turns with Adam, I kind of wish we would have helped y'all with that too, because I know like a lot of youth guys, and you have to do both too, y'all don't really get fed by other people.
Yeah.
And like, they're like, well, that's what the pastor's for. Well, that's an hour,
Right.
one day of the week, and
Right.
y'all have to prepare lessons for 2 days.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a little uneven.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really important is if you have people who are feeding into you, and like even when we moved into college, we had Cassie and Daniel, they were feeding into us like how godly relationships work
Yeah.
and like how you should pursue life together as like helper and like spiritual leader of a household. Like
Yeah.
all those things kind of cultivated us into like what we were trying to teach y'all. And I know like y'all, I've come to like retreats with y'all, and I see like some of the ways y'all do some of the stuff is different yet the same.
Right.
And I think it's cool as being in ministry in general, if you're not able to adjust
Yeah.
and like learn new things, your people will be as stagnant as you are.
Yeah.
And I just think that's like one of the most important things is to be able to be open and
Right.
like actively seeking intentional worship like all the time.
Right.
Anyway, so I don't know. Let's throw it over to you and you can talk about what you learned and stuff.
Yeah, so I totally agree with all that, and I feel like, you know, especially that last thing you said about like how you have to eventually get to the point where, like, it's the same way with everything else. Where if you listen to country music today versus country music in the 80s, it does not sound the
So
same.
different.
It's not at all the same. If you listen to rock and roll today versus Elvis was the king of rock and roll or whatever, nobody that is a hardcore rock and roll fan today is going to be like, play me some Elvis. You know, like nobody's like act like that.
No one.
And you can go on and on. I mean, everything in our lives or whatever is like, there's so much that's different. It's changed. Maybe not. Maybe it's just adapted. Maybe.
Yeah.
And
Evolved a little.
Yeah. So like, and some of it, you know, it could be for better. Some of it could be for the worse or whatever. But like, it's the same thing as like, even if you don't like change, if you still like, if you are saying, hey, I'm going to host a, you know, rock and roll festival or whatever today, and so you invite everybody, and you say, and then everybody shows up expecting to hear rock and roll, and you're like, well, I have this Elvis impersonator here today,
Yeah.
and they're going to leave, like nobody's going to listen to that. And so it's just like, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, yes, Jesus is the same, like yesterday, today, forever. Our world has changed, and so if we're called to be in the world, not of the world,
we have to be adjustable.
Not that you're changing the gospel for each generation, but the way that they're listening to stuff, the stuff that they're, you know, whatever. And you know, how I mentioned earlier about like, I learn better if someone has some sort of an example or some sort of a real life, this is how this applies kind of thing.
Yeah.
If someone came up to me today and was like, hey, you remember this thing from the 50s where, you know, this cartoon, I'd be like, no, I don't remember that cartoon from the 50s.
Yeah.
And so it's just like kind of the way you present it has to kind of adapt to what they are seeing and what they are hearing in regular life. And so, you know, there's like like another example would maybe necessarily would be like slang.
Yeah.
You know, there's slang that you and Adam would have said when we were in the youth group.
Yeah.
That, you know, if I said that to the kids today, they'd be like, what the crap are you talking about? Like, don't say that ever again. And so, like, I've just noticed that, you know, especially with the kids we have, there's some of them that, you know, been in church their whole lives or whatever. And then there's some who have been in church their whole lives, but it's been a Sunday morning church their whole lives.
Yeah.
And not or a Wednesday night church their whole life.
And that's different.
That is much different than I was raised in church. We were here every time the doors were open.
I was probably reading my Bible at home.
Reading the Bible at home, prayed at home, things like that. Versus, oh yeah, I've been at a building for an hour and a half once a week.
Yeah.
For my whole life. Yeah. Not to say there's anything wrong with that. I mean, you could be at another building an hour and a half every day of your life, you know? Because I always try to tell people, because people will be like, you know, say stuff about like, well, I can't believe those people, or, you know, those kids did that, or they so-and-so did this, or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not necessarily sticking up for that or saying that that's right, but I'd rather than be here at this church building than doing it some other place on a Saturday night, you know, something like that.
And that's something that's really funny is we'll be so jumpy and so judgy, and we'll be like, oh my gosh, they put food in the new building and they got the carpet dirty here. Right. They'll be like, oh my gosh, they were like, I think I saw them kissing or something.
Oh my gosh, he wore a hat in the sanctuary.
Yeah, and you're just like, listen, like those things change the closer they get to God. Right. They'll respect a building more because they'll understand, and the older they get, they'll respect a building more because they understand what it took to get it. Right. They'll respect boundaries in public because they'll understand like being like that's part of being modest. Right. Is not like being so like making out in a parking lot or something. Right. And like wearing a hat, like that's a weird tradition, but like don't be a stumbling block for somebody else. You'll understand. Oh, this is I'll choose my battle. This ain't it. Right. And they'll take it off.
And it's the same reason why, as we grow up as just humans. Yeah. I mean, if you even take the church side of it away or whatever, as little babies, you know, you don't know.
You just don't know what you don't know, man.
You don't know what you don't know. You know, and like, you know, our kids have had to grow up. They've had to learn stuff that is just everyday knowledge. Like, you don't run around town butt naked. Yeah. Right. I mean, when you're 2.5 months old or whatever, that's different than when you're 13. You know, it's whatever. So it's just stuff like that. Yeah. That as a 1-year-old, you don't know stuff. But if you were to go up to that 1-year-old and be like, I can't believe you would take your diaper off, or, you know, whatever.
They would just be like, huh?
Exactly. And so we treat like baby Christians like that, or maybe not even, maybe not even Christians yet, but people who are new to church, people who are new to, you know, the faith, or new to stuff like that, and we kind of almost treat them as if they should already know what we know, and they should already act how we act, and they should already, and it's just like,
it's funny because it's like even Jesus didn't judge people that way.
No,
that's the whole like don't judge thing. That's what it is. It's don't judge them to our standard when they don't believe in it. Right. Like, let's help them believe in it first. And then when they're not doing it, you can be like, bro, we don't do that.
Exactly.
Like, it's so funny because it's like, like Jesus met everybody where they were, but they didn't stay that way. Right. So it was like the woman who had like the issue of blood or whatever. Right. She touches the hem of his garment and is healed. He was on his way to raise a girl from the dead. Right. Like, he wasn't going, wait, are you a believer? Did you touch me? Right. Who touched me? Are they a believer? Oh my gosh. Ew, you're not supposed to be in this town square because you're unclean. Right. He was like, daughter, you're saved. You've been made whole now. Exactly. Like, go in peace. I love you. I'm, you know. Right. I can't, you know, I'm so happy for you. Like, you know, it's like
when you start maybe college or a new job or a new training or a new something. If you're learning how to do something, the first class you take is going to be so much dumber than the last class you take. Yeah. Because
that's what prereqs are
for. Exactly. If you're going to be a doctor and you take like whatever. I don't know. Intro to Doctor. I don't know what this class is called.
Intro to
But if
Doctor.
you take Intro to Doctor class and like they're going to expect, hey, this person is brand new to the doctor field. They're not going to know what all these crazy long words are that the people that are seniors or that they're, graduates or master's degree or whatever, like they're not going to. And so it's this, we don't have a problem with like knowing that, but I think when it comes to church, for whatever reason, we can't get that through our heads of like, oh, this person is acting like the world, they're acting lost, they're not acting the way they should. And listen, I'm not saying that we're, saying that that's okay or we're trying to affirm what they're doing, but there's got to be a point where they have to eventually learn that's
to switch.
That have to switch.
Yeah.
But if it's just like the first experience they have is you're
Be
wrong,
hardcore.
you're horrible, why would you ever do that or whatever, then obviously that's going to turn them off from
and they're not
stuff.
going to come back. And then they'll be like, oh, my parents were right. This place sucks.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like when he's talking about, in my Bible, it actually says it's divisions in the church, but I think this is where this kind of comes in 1 Corinthians 3. Hold on, I just lost it. Oh, and he's talking about being infants in Christ. He's like, I fed you with milk, not solid food, for you weren't ready for it.
Right.
And then, because you're like you're still in the flesh, And he's talking, so it's kind of like, later they talk about like what the solid food and stuff is. But I'm just saying, I feel like that's that's youth ministry so much as you want them, they've been on milk for so long as a kid. Yeah. And you're trying to get them to actively seek the solid foods. Right. Like you're a parent. I'm a parent. You know this. Like those baby purees and those squeezies are ridiculous. You're like, how is this? First of all, how is this actually growing my child? Right. I mean, I won't even start on like formulas and breast milk because it's wild that even grows a baby anyway. Right. But that's what it is. It's like it's a milk. And then you're like, you can't go from milk to steak. Right. You go from milk to puree. Right. And then you go from like puree to like chunky noodle things.
Right.
And
then you start with mashed potatoes, soft stuff, and you eventually have to work it up.
Solids.
Right.
And then when you can get to the solid food, it's like you still chop it up small sometimes so they won't choke on it. Right. But you're trusting them to take the solid foods. Right. Right. And I think that's why I will always fight hard for youth ministry and even into college ministry, because the truth of the matter is if you keep them, you're doing such a disservice to people in your life if you keep them on milk. Mm-hmm. Like, you can know who Jesus is. You can know he died. You can know that he died for your sins. You can know he rose from the grave, and you can know that he's coming back, and then he sent the Holy Spirit to interpret, and you can go to all these things. You can go to VBS. You can go to Falls Creek. You can go to like lock-ins. You can go to like fallback. You can do all the super summer. You can do all these things. But until you have them actively seeking solid foods and partaking in solid foods, they're never, ever going to understand the fullness of God in their life. And when things start going south, they're going to flake so fast. Right. Because I know like in the Bible it says if you have faith of a mustard seed and you tell the mountain to move, it will move. But they don't realize they don't even have that much. Right. Because he's just been spoon fed all this regular stuff. And we need to learn those things. Those things are important. A building has to have a firm foundation to stand. Right. But you gotta be like willing to kind of like go test it. Like go build, like, is the water, when the waters come, are they going to wash away? Right. Or is it going to stand firm on a rock? Like, and I think that's something that has always been in my heart, is just like watching, especially being a youth minister's wife, was like, oh my gosh, these kids, sometimes kids would come through and I was like, they literally don't even understand that like Jesus was an actual person. And I have done all the things. Right. And then other times they came through and I would be like, God, they're going to do cool stuff. I hope they stick with it, if they'll just stick with this. Yeah. And I'll say out of y'all's group, I feel like y'all there's quite a few of y'all that stayed pretty good. Ended up in some good churches doing some good stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel it's just like, it's always like 60-40 or 80-20 or whatever. You just don't, it's never a good 50-50 as much as you want it to be.
Right. Yeah, because I feel like, especially with our group, like there will be some nights where there will be like, we will have like the greatest discussion
Yeah.
and the greatest, like, the kids will actually be like, oh, do you mean like blah, 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 or whatever? Or
And you're
be
like, yeah.
oh, is this kind of like how when Jesus said whatever?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh,
They're
you actually
getting
have a
it.
brain. You get it or whatever.
Woo.
And then there's like the next week, they're like 10-man Christians where they're like,
Yeah.
if I only had a brain. And it's
Yeah.
like, and it's like, do you not understand? How do you not get this or whatever?
Yeah.
But I guess ultimately, not that I'm comparing me and you and Adam and Leandria to Jesus, but like Jesus, I guess, technically dealt with the same thing where like
yeah.
he would say stuff
And they just didn't
and
get
they
it.
just didn't get it. Like I've said it before, but like there's so many times in the Bible that even though it's not written in, like I'll add in like Jesus rolled his eyes right here.
Yeah.
Like
There's
100%.
no way you didn't.
There's no way that he just let that happen and then was not like face palm, you know, like
Yes.
stuff like that. And so like, and that's another reason why I think that the youth age is so important is because they are, like you said, they do need to get off milk.
Yeah.
And whether they want to or not, they need
it.
to.
They need that push.
And because, you know, the world is out there and you're growing up in the world.
Yeah.
And so you're learning more stuff in the world. And so like, and so then there's some topics that may be kind of weird to talk about in youth group.
Yeah.
That, there was sometimes Adam would have to talk with us about stuff that like, it'd be like, oh, this is weird. Why are we talking about this tonight or whatever?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that's like, if you don't hear it from the church, you're going to hear it from the world.
And you need to hear what Jesus says about it first.
says about it. And so like, if it's the first time I heard about this was the locker room versus, the first time I heard about this was at church.
Yeah.
Like, and this is what Jesus says about it.
Yeah.
Like, not saying that you still can't fall into what the world says about things or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you at least I think the kids would be like, well, at least they told me about it. At least they were like, were strong enough. And even though it was kind of a sensitive topic or a weird topic, like they at least cared about me enough to bring it up and let me know like this is how it is supposed to be kind of thing.
And that was like so like growing up, like Justin and them would tell us pretty good stuff, but I was just such a sheltered, naive person. I didn't quite understand what they were getting at sometimes. And that's kind of where like Cassie and Daniel kind of was like kind of helped clue me in a little better as far as like, oh, this is what they were trying to teach me. But I would say to even those, like, they kind of joke around. Alice is just in the youth the other day. They were talking about Rahab.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady said she was a prostitute. So, like, the lady who was leading the class, our youth guy wasn't there. And the lady leading the class was like, yeah, Rahab, the prostitute. And Alice was like, what's a prostitute? And everyone started laughing. And she was like, no, it's so great that she's innocent like that. And that's kind of how my brain was. Like, I half knew things and half didn't.
Right.
But, like, at the same time, it's like, could you imagine if I would have said, I mean, and I did, there was inappropriate things I asked my friends at school because I was embarrassed to ask an adult.
Right.
And I got of crazy answers. So could you imagine if she would have went to school the next day and was like, hey, so-and-so, what's a prostitute? Like,
right. They'd have been like, Danny's mom, or,
right? Like, it would have been wild. Like, what question should she, so, like, at least she was felt to be like, what's that? Like, in church.
Right.
In a place where, I think she said, they told me that she said, she's like, well, I said, it's someone who has, like, does married people things but not married. Trying to just like keep it PG.
Right.
But it was funny because it's like, could you imagine, I mean, that the world we live in, like, what if she just Googled it instead of asking it out loud?
Right.
Like,
right.
I mean, not her phone technically doesn't get on the internet, but like,
well, I mean
someone else's does.
Someone else's phone does. And
could you imagine she walked up to her friend who's I know has internet on her phone and been like, hey, can you
hey,
tell me
Google
what a
this for me, or
Google what a
can
prostitute
I borrow
is?
your phone? Google the word "show me You know, it's
Right?
like
and it's like, you know, and they kind of laughed at her, and she was like, "Don't you dare laugh at that," because
Yeah.
it's important to have people who learn in the appropriate times. But at the same time, I'm like, I was so thankful. I laughed a little because I was like, my bad, because I'm sure we just skipped right over that bit.
right.
But like also, like she is the oldest and the youngest is 5, so it's so hard to know how deep to take conversations because they're
Right.
always around each other.
Yeah.
So sometimes in the car, I might take stuff like a little deeper, but it's still funny because you're just kind of like, I don't know how far to go with the way our age group.
Well, that's how it is with
kids
our
are.
youth group too. Is like, and I'm sure that you and Adam kind of dealt with this a little, but like, so we have, you know, freshmen in college and also 6th grader that just started
Yes.
7th grade.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you get to this topic and you say something. Well, it's like, well, probably the freshman in college knows
Gets
about
it.
that.
Totally gets
But
it.
is the 7th grader just lost?
Yeah.
And they have no clue what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
and that's where having a college class is super. People really should, as much as youth ministry in college, you think you could just, it's just 1 year difference from a senior to a freshman in college. It is not.
Right.
It is absolutely
Well,
not.
even if you just senior in high school, I mean,
yeah,
you take a senior in high school, what they know versus what a
the
7th grader will
it's just
know.
not.
And so it's like this, like we were talking about earlier, this balance of where you say, okay, well, how do I talk about this where it's not going to bore the senior, but is also not going to be way above the 7th grader's head that they're like,
they just check out.
and they're like, well, I don't need to listen when I go to that class because they just talk about all this crap that I don't know anything about.
Yeah, and I think that's where keeping it very intentional and grounded in scripture is really important. If you're just constantly, if you're someone who's more like a motivational speaker and you're just constantly telling stories, no one's ever going to figure that out because no one's life is like yours. But if you read straight through the Bible and don't give any kind of commentary, they're also not going to ever figure it out. So I feel like keeping it grounded, but being able to explain there is application for this in the world, and being able to recommend like good books and being able to recommend, and nowadays you recommend good books, you can recommend good YouTube channels.
Right.
So we've had people talking about Calvinism a lot lately. And I was just like, there's this guy named Dr. Flowers on YouTube, Dr. Leighton Flowers on YouTube. I just started telling people about that guy.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know a lot, but I learned a lot from this dude.
Yeah.
And he explained it in a way I got. So you should try it.
Yeah.
And they're like, so they would go and watch a couple of videos and we're like, that's what I've been trying to tell people. And I was like, well, you're welcome. And so that is one thing where you can use the digital era for your benefit. Is kind of casing out good YouTube channels that you could like watch. So that's one thing like Zeke does. It's the Frank Turek or whatever his name is, that he's got Cross-Examine or something.
Yeah.
And he'll show his videos sometimes and then talk to the kids about it. Or like Wes Huff, he'll pull up a Wes Huff video and then like talk to the kids about it.
Right.
And that's like, I feel like that's one, especially nowadays, finding good teachers. So you, instead of like, because also you can just YouTube anything.
Yeah.
And it'll show up.
Right.
Something you've probably, and there are people who believe some crazy stuff out there.
Weird.
So, like, and if you're new and you don't even understand what the word discernment means,
Right.
you are definitely going to be led astray.
Yeah.
Like, so I think being able to trust that your person is going to guide these people to safe places is good too. Because, like, when we were younger, there's people, we went with some of y'all to go watch that they're now calling out as liars.
Yeah.
And we have to be like, my bad, guys.
Yeah. Well, so our first, maybe our first year that we kind of maybe took over, like officially, there was a dating series.
Yeah.
From this guy, and it had like really good stuff. I mean, like I was a married adult, and I was like, wow,
hey,
this
is
dating
important.
information was really nice.
I wish I would have known this
Really
before.
wish I'd have known that. And so I was like, wow, this is really good. It's biblical, and like it's a good series. So we watched the whole series. I mean, like, and I was like, y'all take notes about this and write this guy's name down and follow him on Instagram or whatever. And now he's a nut job. And so like
And you have to call everybody back.
We have this new group of like kids coming in that they're like just now starting to get like into the dating age or whatever.
Yeah.
And so part of me wants to be like, man, I really want to show them that video because it was really good stuff. But how do I be like, hey, only this sermon from this guy is actually good. Like don't listen to anything else this guy says.
That's like the argument we talked about during our music episodes where they're like, some people aren't interested in Bethel teaching, but their music is like great.
Oh yeah.
But it's like that. And I feel like, and I say this honestly, if I feel like that actually is a good teachable moment.
Yeah.
You can learn. The Holy Spirit can use anybody. Like God can use anybody. Yeah. Like David literally committed adultery, and he still was king.
Right.
He still was like, after God's own heart kind of a guy. Right. He still is like the main author of the Psalms.
He murdered a dude.
He murdered he murdered her husband to keep her.
Right.
To hide a pregnancy, which was his fault mostly.
Right.
Like trash happened, and he's still one of the most talked about people of the Bible. His lessons in the Psalms are so important. God gave him prophecy to point towards Jesus' crucifixion.
Right.
Like, people do and say stupid stuff. The thing, I think that's a really good teachable moment. You can be like, we're going to take this from this person, and we're going to apply these things.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to discern if this other thing they're talking about is right. Go read your Bible and check it, because I personally don't think it is.
Right.
And that's something that, and I think that's why in the Bible it's like be weary. It's like, I don't know how it words it, and I didn't think about it till just now, so I don't have it looked up. Where it's talking about how like pastors will be judged doubly, because they could lead people astray, basically.
Right.
And I think that's why, because it's like if you just randomly be like, "Hey, that dude on YouTube," and don't put any like qualifiers on it, you could accidentally send them down a bad rabbit hole.
Right.
But if they taught you something important about dating, like go learn it.
Right.
Because I'm gonna be honest. I'm to that point where I'm going to have to start teaching my daughter about that, and I'll find a good one. I'll listen about halfway through, and I'm like, I'm not telling her that.
Right.
Or I'll listen to I'll get to 2 or 3 in, and I'll be like, that's not what I want for her marriage.
Well, now, I mean, now especially
the
digital age we're in, there's just so many reels, there's videos,
Yeah.
I mean, just like these 30-second clips or whatever.
And there's not enough context.
There's not enough context, and so you just hear the make-up, polished version, like the simple part of this sermon that these person, and you're like,
oh, that's good.
I like that guy.
I'm
following that dude, or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, she has this really cool, she always has these cool things to say on her reels. I'm gonna follow her or whatever. And because we are stuck on the milk, or because we're stuck on we're not growing, we're not reading, we're not going deeper, we never clue in, and so we just believe what anybody tells us.
And there's adults that make it all the way to adulthood. There's been times in my life I've heard someone say something, and I as a teenager, I would hear an adult say the Bible says something, and I'd be like, I don't think it says that. So I'll go ask someone I trust to help me find it. And I'm like, does it say blah, blah, blah? And they'd be like, no, who told you that? And I'm like, actually, I don't know. But I guess, and that's something too. That's where discernment's super important. And so as you are out there gathering up people to serve in your church and who you're allowing around your children and your youth and your college age kids, be aware of who their influences are. And that's kind of why I was like, would be kind of a fun subject, not just because I wanted to hear you say nice things about me, but also no, because it's you never realize, even as parents, we don't realize some of the things we do is because our parents did that. So as we taught, we were probably doing stuff we heard because we had heard it from someone else. I wanted just to real quickly throw out some stuff that was a little hilarious, and maybe we should try to not what was that? Would that word be perpetuate? I don't know. What's that word? But continue forward in life. I don't know what that word would be. I'm so bad at this. I need a thesaurus. Hey Google. I need a thesaurus.
What's a thesaurus?
What's a thesaurus? I need to send. Oh my gosh, it did it. It came up. My Google just came up.
Big brother.
He's always listening. So so with us talking about this, like the purity rings and the true love weights.
Oh yeah.
So like when I was younger, was really abstinence and stuff was a really big deal. So it was like, and we'll keep this PG, but I'm just saying, it was like, don't do anything ever.
Yeah.
Until like, don't ever do anything at all. True love waits.
Right.
Wear these purity rings.
Right.
And we were talking, I've talked to so many people about this, but like education is better.
Like, what does that mean? Don't
what
do
does it
anything.
even mean? Like, I don't even know what the things you don't want me to do
Exactly.
are. And it was like
Don't do it. Don't do what?
Do what?
It.
And you're like, oh no, did I do that?
Right. Oh, I looked at the girl. Oh my gosh.
And there's this joke that's in Anne of Green Gables where I don't remember if the boy held her hand. I think the boy held her hand. Or gave her a hug. Like, I don't even think they kissed. And she came to school crying that she was pregnant. And it was like 90s youth group right there.
That's
Early
it.
2000s right there.
That's
but it was like things like that and the purity rings. Like, I understood, now that I'm older, I understood what the adults were trying to get us to get to.
Right.
But I was like, bro, that was so not helpful.
It was just don't do it.
So not helpful. And and you're like, yes, that is biblical, but like also like what, like it was so confusing. Or like people like when I was growing into the youth group, Harry Potter was really big and they were like, this is witchcraft and it's of the devil.
Oh my gosh.
And like my dad was like, I don't care, we'll watch it. But there was people getting us in trouble for knowing about it.
Yeah.
And it was just stuff like that where it was like, nowadays we have to be like, I mean, they're watching TikToks and things that are much worse than Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
Like, but you also, there are people out there who are like, I believe in Jesus. And then they're like, buy this crystal, rub it all over your face and you'll be healed, or stick it up in your body somewhere and it'll heal you. And so there are things that are like, you have to be careful and you have to be aware of.
Yeah.
But I was just like, things like that. I don't know. I have a whole list. We won't go into it. But I was just like, but it was things like I miss, but things that I also probably shouldn't come back.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like our lock-ins probably really prepped you for, if you're going to do them, what you should not do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, and also I'll end with this. I'm talking about like stuff you and Adam taught. Whenever I first took over, there were some stupid dumb games that you and Adam make us do that I was like, they made us do it.
I'm gonna do
them do it too because or whatever.
Pay your dues, kids.
That's right. And these kids are so soft, and I'd be like, "Hey," so the one that I'm referencing. So we were having a lock-in, and it was like the very beginning of the lock-in, and I was like, "All right, everybody." I had like three or four volunteers, and I was like, "All right, we're gonna chug this pop, and whoever can chug this pop the fastest wins, or whatever." And they're like, "Okay, that's fun," or whatever. And I was like, "But catch, you got to take your sock off."
The dirty sock.
Yeah, the dirty sock. Put it over the mouth of the bottle. And they're like, we're not doing that. Like, we're not going to do that. And I was like, but you have to do it because I told you. And they're like, we're just not going to do it. And I was like,
that's
fine, just chug the pop. I don't even care. I'm going to go home. You know, stupid
the body autonomy like works out against you.
Yeah, exactly.
We know we have authority over our own bodies now.
Yeah, I know. Like, stupid. Anyway.
But yeah, I wrote down a few Bible verses. We don't have to read all of them, but it's just like the train up your child and stuff like that. And like, don't let anyone despise you because of your youth and things. But I feel like trying to bring this back and like land the plane. I feel like if you do if you keep teaching them like abide in the Lord and you will produce fruits, like in John, like I am the vine, you are the branches. Mm-hmm. John 15. I feel like teaching them that and just keep feeding them even if you have to chunk it up into small bites, like feed them the solid food, push them hard, because in all honesty, anytime I've ever ran into any of y'all, like, and I mean, we talk more than other people do, but anytime we start talking about that stuff, every single one of y'all was like, thank you for like pushing us.
Yeah. Like,
we would not have been where we are if you would not have pushed us.
Right.
And I feel like people will tell you that too. I mean, you've got you've got kids that run youth now. Like you
Right.
have a youth guy. He was in ours a little bit, but he was mostly yours, and he runs a youth now.
Right.
Like there's like they appreciate that you
Right.
pushed them
Right.
in the long run.
Yeah, I had one verse. I guess it's two. It's Deuteronomy 6, and 7. And he says, "These commands that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home, when you walk along the road, when you lie down, and when you get up." And so it's just kind of one of those things. Is like that was mainly for parents, I guess, to be like, "Hey, make sure that when you're with your kids or whatever that."
But that goes for.
But I think it goes
too.
for church too. Is like, make it to where like how like the one thing I appreciated about like you and Adam was it was like not only did y'all teach us this stuff, but you lived that stuff, and we could see that y'all actually did what you were teaching us to do. And so I think it's just important that like, especially that teenage, almost young adult,
be willing
age
to
or
get
whatever.
down in the nitty gritty with them.
Right.
You are not above them. And if you do have health reasons why you can't be like chasing them around, get help.
Right.
Get lots of help.
Yeah.
Because they have to trust that you want what's best for them.
Right.
And you'll get there. And I feel, I think that's one thing with us is we always try to bring y'all over to our house a lot.
Yeah.
So you could see like, and y'all saw us getting onto our kids and you'd be
Right.
like, okay, well, we're going to get a pop and like whatever.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I feel like if you try to keep it all at the church building, you'll never fully see how
Right.
or all at Falls Creek, you never fully see how they work.
Right.
And and I just think that's, and Justin and Sonny were like that too. They would have, so we wouldn't always go to their house because it was kind of small, but like they would do like, movie nights and like game nights and stuff sometimes because and that's the whole idea is like fellowshipping.
Right.
Or like I said, they would take us up to like their parents' church or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, I can't find where that verse was, so I liked yours.
Save it for next time.
Yeah, we'll save it for next time. But anyway, so I guess we'll try to remember to put this one out on YouTube. We have y'all might get 2 this week. We got a bonus that we recorded. We forgot to throw at y'all.
Yeah, my bad.
But until next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
If we
can do this.
If we keep the tradition going, maybe another 3 months we'll do another.
No, okay. School's in session. Fridays are going to be more
better.
free.
That's what we said last episode.
My car keeps breaking.
Oh,
but
don't say
by
that.
golly, I'll hike here if I have to.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah.
You say it. No, I'm just kidding.
Bye.
Bye.